This is James Corbett of CorbettReport.com with your Sunday update for this 30th day of May 2010. And now for the real news. In our top story this week, intelligence analyst and Washington Times columnist Jeff Stein penned a column last Tuesday confirming that the CIA has made fake videos of Osama bin Laden. The admission comes in a story about U.S. intelligence plans to set up Saddam Hussein by creating fake tapes of an actor portraying Hussein having sex with a young boy. In that story, Stein notes, quote, "The agency actually did make a video purporting to show Osama bin Laden and his cronies sitting around a campfire, swigging bottles of liquor and savoring their conquests with boys," one of the former CIA officers recalled, chuckling at the memory. "The actors were drawn from some of us darker-skinned employees," he said, end quote. The article then goes on to note that the CIA unit in charge of the operation, the Office of Technical Services, gave up on the project, and it was then taken up by the military. This information further corroborates what has already been revealed about signs that the Psychological Warfare Division of the Pentagon has been releasing fake Osama bin Laden tapes at regular intervals since 9/11. Some of the more infamous examples of those faked videos include a video of bin Laden that was supposedly released by Al-Qaeda in 2006, despite the fact that the exact footage had aired several months previously in The Road to Guantanamo, the Michael Winterbottom docudrama, and a 2004 video purportedly showing bin Laden, which was exactly identical to a video released in 2007. In 2007, computer security consultant Neil Krawitz revealed at a security conference that an analysis of quantization tables and JPEGs extracted from As-Sahab videos showed that the Al-Qaeda watermarks were inserted at the same time as Intel Center, a US-based contractor which sells and distributes footage of terrorist groups. Intel Center CEO Ben Vensky was the former director of intelligence at VeriSign company iDefense, where he served with Jim Melnick, a 16-year veteran of the U.S. Defense Intelligence Agency. Melnick specialized in psychological operations and had previously been assigned to the office of Defense Secretary Donald Rumsfeld. Stein's latest revelations merely offer further confirmation of the U.S. intelligence and military involvement in creating fake bin Laden tapes. Both the CIA and the Defense Department have yet to comment on this developing story. In other news this week, CBS is under fire for attempting to depict all those who question the official government position on geoengineering or the safety of fluoridated drinking water as anti-American conspiracy theorists.
I got a little intel on Professor Scott. He has a history of espousing various conspiracy theories. Sharing them with his students got him into a little trouble.
Every university has at least one unconventional professor.
Oh, come on, Peyton. This guy's ideas here are totally anti-American. Look at this. Water fluoridation, tsunami bombs, chemtrails.
Numerous scientific studies spanning back to the beginning of the water fluoridation program itself have confirmed that sodium fluoride is detrimental to human health. These studies have concluded that sodium fluoride is an endocrine disruptor and a neurotoxin which alters the thyroid, increases the chances of contracting deadly bone cancer in young boys, lowers IQ, and causes dental fluorosis. In several documented examples, over-fluoridation of city water supplies have resulted in death. In 2000, Dr. William Hertzy, the vice president of the EPA's own scientist union, testified before the Senate on the ill effects of water fluoridation.
Our union represents the staff, scientists, lawyers, and others who analyze hazard, exposure, and economic data and advise management how to use them in public health protection. I'm not here today to speak for EPA, but rather the union, founded 17 years ago to protect EPA workers from unethical pressure by EPA managers. It was on that basis in 1985 that we first got involved in this issue. In 1997, we voted to oppose fluoridation, and our opposition has grown stronger as more adverse data on the practice has come in. In the interest of time, let me state our recommendations first. We ask that you order an independent review of the cancer bioassay of sodium fluoride mandated in 1977 by Congress. Evidence for carcinogenicity in that assay was systematically downgraded by a special executive branch commission appointed and run by the very agencies that Congress did not trust to run the bioassay in the first place. That action saved fluoridation temporarily. We ask that you order chronic toxicity studies on the two waste products that are now used in 90% of fluoridation programs. EPA says there are at present no chronic toxicity data on them, and we ask that you order EPA set an MCL for fluoride that's truly protective of all American citizens, infants and adults alike, because the current one does not, in violation of the Safe Drinking Water Act. We ask that you order epidemiology studies using dental fluorosis as an index of exposure to determine the extent of other toxic effects, especially effects on the brain and bone in the population that are attributable to fluoride. We ask that you convene a joint congressional committee to give this issue the full airing that it deserves. It's been 23 years since the last one, and it's high time for a new one.
The documented scientific concerns over such issues are being portrayed as signs of mental derangement on primetime television, although that perhaps is not surprising. The current White House communications czar Cass Sunstein co-wrote a paper in 2008 for the Harvard Law School in which he advocated the government employ covert agents to infiltrate groups with views that the government opposes and disseminate government propaganda amongst them. Startlingly, he even suggests that the government may one day ban or tax conspiracy theorizing. One of the examples he gives of pernicious conspiracy theorizing is the idea that sunlight is good for you. Earlier this year, NBC admitted to a practice called behavior placement, whereby they attempt to influence viewers' actions by portraying characters in their dramas and comedies engaging in desirable behavior. Finally, this week, ABC News is in trouble once again for attempting to portray climate change skeptics as deranged white supremacists.
I hope someone gets you in a dark alley.
The FBI tells ABC News it's looking into a spike in threatening emails to climate scientists like Penn State's Michael Mann.
6 feet under with the roots is where you should be. I was hoping I would see the news that you committed suicide. Do it. It's an attempt to chill the discourse, and I think that's what's most disconcerting.
A white supremacist website recently posted Mann's picture, alongside several other climate scientists, with the word Jew next to each image.
The piece goes on to play a brief response by Mark Moreno of ClimateDepot.com.
Senator Inhofe's former spokesman, Mark Moreno, who now runs one of the most aggressive climate skeptic websites in the country, did agree to an interview, arguing that skeptics have been getting threats for years.
The public is appropriately angry at these scientists. And again, no one's advocating violence, but it is refreshing to see these scientists hear from the public.
Just as in the case of ABC News misreporting on 9/11 Truth, however, in this case, too, the behind-the-scenes recording of the entire interview has leaked onto the internet.
Now, on ClimateGate, isn't it true that several of the subsequent investigations exonerated these guys from cooking the books?
Right, you're referring to like Lord Oxburgh and these other reports. UN scientists have laughed. Richard Toll, a lead author in the UN, is laughing at this Oxburgh report and other scientists. This was essentially a light piece of paper, a couple pages long, didn't interview any of the skeptics, had a very narrow focus on what they were looking at. And these were all warmists. The head of it, Lord Oxburgh, had massive conflict of interest that he would never have gotten away with had it been the other way around and, say, a skeptic was heading it who had oil-funded interest. This was a complete laughingstock investigation. And the bottom line is we've seen the emails. We've heard the top UN scientists now turning on each other. I have a whole report on UN scientists turning on the UN saying it's run its course, it's time to disband it. Rajendra Pachauri, the UN IPCC chief, should resign. So these little committees that get together that are all politically connected, full of global warmists, aren't going to change the fact that there's a civil war going on within the UN over these ClimateGate emails. And the American people realize what ClimateGate was all about. You don't need a committee to read the very words of these scientists.
Now, stay tuned for episode 131 of the Corbett Report, Bilderberg 2010, where we talk to Daniel Estulin, Charlie Skelton, Neil Foster, and Dave Derby about this year's Bilderberg Conference.